Title: Lost Hearts in the Outback, Chapter 1, A Dream Escape. The metallic birds soared through immaculate blue skies, gracefully breaking through the cloud cover before descending slowly towards the sprawling cityscape of Sydney. John watched out the airplane window with a sense of wonder, his breath momentarily catching in his throat. He felt a light pressure on his arm, Lisa's fingers intertwining with his, as they both shared a moment of silent awe. "Finally," Lisa whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. John nodded, pressure releasing from his shoulders. The weight of endless days spent entrenched in the concrete jungle of New York City seemed to dissipate as the plane touched down on Australian soil. This was it, their escape hatch. The dream vacation they'd been meticulously planning for months was no longer confined to pixels on a computer screen or stationary dreams etched on a calendar. It was here, real and tangible. As they stepped into the vibrant pulse of Sydney, the air hummed with possibilities. Its sunlit streets led to rhythmic waves battering against golden shores, an endless city layered with color, life, and promise. John and Lisa feasted on the sights, their surroundings a playful montage of beaches, bustling markets, and vibrant neighborhoods. "This is what we needed," John remarked, as they lounged on Bondi Beach, the ocean's whispering waves soothing away concerns like an age-old remedy. Lisa nodded, surveying the sparkling expanse with a bright smile. She tilted her head back, letting the Australian sun kiss her face, bringing a bloom of freckles to her cheeks. "Let's pretend this is our world, even if just for a little while," she murmured dreamily. The couple spent enchanted days lost in Sydney's offerings, embarking on ferry rides, exploring alleyway cafes, the scent of freshly brewed coffee clinging to their jackets like a comforting embrace. But as the days folded into each other, a yearning stirred within John, a desire to explore beyond the city borders, to envelop themselves in the untouched wilderness spanning far into the heart of the continent. "How about we rent a car and head inland? Imagine the sunsets over the Outback," John suggested one sunny afternoon, his eyes shimmering with enthusiasm. Lisa lifted an eyebrow, considering the spontaneity of the idea. "A road trip? You think we're ready for the Outback?" He shrugged, a grin breaking through his typically reserved demeanor. "It'll be an adventure, the kind we'll still be talking about when we're old and gray." Reluctantly, caught in his excitement, Lisa felt the twang of wanderlust nudging her. "All right," she acquiesced, her voice playfully tentative, "but promise me no more than a few kangaroo encounters." They laughed, sealing their pact with intertwined fingers and shared glances that whispered 1,000 silent agreements. With a plan set into motion, they rented a sturdy SUV and charted a journey that promised far more than just idyllic sunsets. Unbeknownst to them, the roadmap ahead carried more than the wanderlust they initially envisioned. It cradled both promise and peril, a canvas upon which their dreams would unfurl in complex hues against an unyielding backdrop of wilderness. And as they drove deeper into the heart of Australia, they were unaware of the profound transformation awaiting them beyond the horizon. Chapter 2: A Promise in the Wilderness. Their breath seemed to echo through the vast expanse as the SUV sliced through the ribbon of asphalt, stretching across the untamed landscape. Central Australia unfolded in every direction, a terrain vast and primal, dotted with resilient flora and the occasional glimpse of wildlife. The rhythmic hum of the engine was a soothing lullaby as they journeyed into the untouched heart of the continent, far from the harbor lights of Sydney. John felt a swell of emotions as he cradled the steering wheel. He was acutely aware of the monumental silence that underpinned these open lands, a silence that somehow amplified every thought, every whispered word between them. Each mile brought a new sense of detachment from their previous lives, a shedding of their urban skins in exchange for something more primal and elemental. To him, this was the essence of freedom. Lisa sat beside him, her gaze cast wide and wonder-filled. The Outback unfolded like a sensory tapestry, each horizon lined with the rich hues of rust and ochre, under a sky that seemed infinite and impossibly blue. Her breath was a quiet exhalation by John's side, each sigh a testament to the beauty around them and the fragile promise of their shared future. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with colors that felt almost surreal, they pulled over to set camp. The sand was cool beneath their bare toes, the stars above a dazzling dome of stellar fire. It was here, in this expansive open cupboard of constellations, that John spoke with a gravity that rooted the moment in their hearts. "I promise you, Lisa," he began, his voice gentle but earnest, "this will be a vacation we'll never forget." His words were laden with sincerity, holding more weight than any vow ringed by diamond or gold. Lisa turned to look at him, her eyes capturing the starlight like polished stones. She reached for his hand, their fingers knitting together as though trying to weave their fates into unbreakable cords. "And what if we get lost out here?" she asked, her tone sprinkled with playful mischief, yet tinged with genuine curiosity. John chuckled softly, glancing around at the extraterrestrial serenity engulfing them. "Then it'll be just another story to tell, and a tale of finding our way back." Neither John nor Lisa could fathom the foreshadowing hidden within those light-hearted words, nor did they notice the growing shadows creeping across the sands, harbingers of the trials that lay ahead. For now, they simply held on to each other, cocooned by the warmth of their connection and the wild beauty of an endless outback night. Overhead, the Milky Way stretched across the heavens, an ethereal path in a sea of black velvet, hinting at both the mystery and majesty of the universe. They talked about dreams, about the paths not yet taken, letting visions of a future filled with adventure spill into the night air. In that sacred stillness, where the world seemed pinned under stars, John and Lisa found a fleeting pocket of eternity, a moment that felt suspended from time's inexorable march. They cooked dinner over a flickering campfire, shared stories laced with laughter, and fell asleep beneath 1,000 watching stars. This wilderness felt like the cradle of creation, holding them inside a world that felt ethereal and timeless. As the cool breeze rustled through the sparse brushes, it seemed to whisper secrets untold, hinting at the inevitable twist of fate. Yet, cradled in shared warmth, they remained blissfully unaware of the test that awaited them in the coming days, a test that would challenge their resolve and lay bare the raw strands of their hearts. The promise of the wilderness wrapped around them, wording a lullaby that sent them into dreams unbound by city lights, until the first rays of dawn began to crawl tentatively across the desert, signaling a new beginning. Chapter 3, Wrong Turn, Right Intentions. Morning's gentle light slowly seeped across the horizon, painting the world in tender hues of amber and violet, as the couple stirred awake, cocooned in their sleeping bags. After a brief breakfast, they resumed their journey, eager to reach the day's major attraction, a natural wonder renowned for its majestic presence. A breathtaking formation, where nature's artistry had carved monumental sculptures over time, awaited them. Maps unfolded across Lisa's lap, a tapestry of folded and creased paper, peppered with the names of unfamiliar places that danced with the allure of the unexplored. John, his curiosity piqued, suggested a detour off the beaten path, a scenic route promising mythical vistas. "Why stick to the highway when there's so much out there to uncover?" he proposed, a spark igniting behind his eyes as he considered the tantalizing paths less traveled. John's suggestion, like many of his ideas, came from a place of curious spirit and genuine intention. Devoted to unraveling paths untouched by the masses, he always sought more than just checking landmarks off a list. Lisa, despite harboring a latent apprehension, felt drawn to his zest for discovery. "All right, but let's keep the map handy," Lisa agreed, her cautious optimism trembling at the edge of adventure and practicality. With the sun curving high into the sky, their vehicle veered away from the highway, gravel crumbling beneath their tires as they embarked on the winding path. The road coiled through rugged terrain, twisting and turning amid weather-worn rock formations and sweeping sand plains. Hours trickled by like grains in an hourglass, the blazing sun casting curious shadows over the landscape. Yet, as the day waned, the road gradually began to fade into the earth, its contours swallowed by desert sands, and its markings erased by time itself. John felt the first prick of uncertainty, an uncomfortable knot tightening his chest as he squinted at the obscured path ahead. He glanced sideways at Lisa, her fingers brushing nervously against the frayed paper of the map. "John, I think we missed a turn, or maybe we've gone too far." Lisa's voice carried the apprehension she felt, shattering the calm veneer of their so-called adventurous spirit. The road they'd followed with such enthusiasm melted away into indistinct tracks, every direction seemingly identical, marked only by the capricious temper of unmarked wilderness. As John peered into the vast distance, it was clear the sun was preparing to retire, casting long, eerie shadows that blurred boundaries and deepened their sense of unease. "We should turn back before it gets too dark," Lisa urged, a thread of worry weaving through her words. John's pride was a stubborn creature, however, reluctant to concede to his fears. "Let's push on a bit further. We might find a sign or a better landmark soon," he suggested, masking his doubt behind a facade of confidence. But with every passing minute, the dusty trail became more indistinguishable, and the encroaching night wrapped the landscape in a shroud of mystery and disorientation. The sands whispered a cold indifference to their plight, painting shadows that played tricks on weary eyes and minds. Reality soon drowned beneath the weight of their decision. Ahead stretched infinity, a desert where the horizon was a mirage, where each direction seemed like a continuation of their aimless journey. It dawned on them, ominously as twilight settled, that their quest for beauty had instead led them off the charted world into the arms of a solitude that was both magnificent and frightening. They stopped the car, the engine's rumble dying into the yawning silence that enveloped the outback. Darkness burgeoned like an untamed beast, stars blinking hesitantly into existence as they prepared to christen another night absent of certainty and familiarity. Lisa's gaze met John's, the map on her lap now as meaningless as a blank canvas. "It's getting late, John," she murmured, worry etching lines at the corners of her eyes. He sighed deeply, the weight of their predicament settling upon his shoulders. "I know. Maybe we should just camp here for the night. Start fresh in the morning." Surrender hung heavy in the air, but it was laced with the resolve to face whatever came next, together. With reluctant acceptance, they moved to their makeshift camp, a flicker of firelight, their only solace amidst a sea of cold, unfeeling darkness. Each crackle of the flames was a fragile reassurance, a tenuous tether to sanity in the unfolding chasm of the unknown. That night they lay awake, listening to the occasional stir of nature, its creatures and the faint howl of the wind carving its path through infinite space. It was a night that painted doubt on the canvas of their hearts, where silence grew in intensity until it screamed the unspoken questions that neither dared utter. Where were they? How would they find their way back? And more than anything, what had they truly come searching for in this desolate expanse where direction dissolved under moonlight? Chapter 4. The Silence of the Sands. The sun ascended slowly, heralding another dawn with stirring hues that bled into the vigilant night, dispelling shadows and unveiling the desolate grandeur that surrounded them. Their shelter was forgiving, a modest refuge amidst the wilderness, but their hearts knew no comfort as they packed up their camp. As the vehicle rumbled back to life, an uneasy silence conspired with the warm breath of morning air. The road Dee once hoped was merely hidden in the night had truly disappeared, leaving them marooned in a place where the sun ruled mercilessly over the sands, and time itself felt disjointed. Hours passed, and with each mile, every glance at a fading GPS screen only confirmed the futility of their quest for familiar bearings. John's mind raced with strategic possibilities, each grappling for clarity amidst the consuming miasma of uncertainty. "Do you still have any signal?" John asked, though Lisa's frustrated shake of her phone said it all before her voice did. "Nothing. It's like we're invisible," she replied, fighting to tamp down the rising tide of panic. The realization was an insidious whisper, a narrative unraveling in silence. They were disconnected from the world out there. The horizon stretched endless and indifferent, a cruel beacon that offered no comfort, only a reminder of their isolation. Hope dangled on fraying threads. Anxiety simmered beneath the surface, with each bump in the road testing their nerves and their endurance. The silence was immense, filled with unspoken fears and escalating tension, a haunting echo of a misstep that bore an unfathomable cost. Their very breaths seemed to resonate with the eternal calm of the outback, acting as the only testament to life amidst the enduring sand and sky, a stark juxtaposition to the metropolis they fled and the dream they'd chosen to chase. Amidst this overwhelming quietude, John and Lisa exchanged glances, vulnerability seeping through their practiced facades. Fear, like the relentless ticking of a clock, paced around them, circling closer with every hour under the relentless sun. It's not panic, John said, though his voice barely held together the resolve it aimed to project. Lisa nodded, her lips pressing into a determined line. We can find a way out, together. With that silent pledge, they sifted through their supplies, counting and rationing water and food like fragile lifelines. As the day stretched on, heat pressed down on them, and the desert serenade was a cacophony of unseen secrets and unyielding truths. Acceptance grew from necessity, entwining their hands and willpower against the vastness that would mold the next leg of their journey. Trapped in this desert symphony, they knew escape lay somewhere within, a path they hadn't yet discovered, a thread connecting courage with survival. Together they set out, footsteps crunching across the sands beside tire tracks now rapidly erasing beneath relentless gusts of wind, whispering promises they'd unwittingly made and the trials they had yet to face. Chapter 5. A Scorching Reality. As the blazing sun reached its zenith, the harsh landscape transformed into a shimmering mirage, blurring the horizon and distorting their sense of direction. The infernal heat wrapped itself around them, a scorching cloak that taxed their bodies and minds, testing their endurance in ways they never imagined. The SUV crawled along the dusty terrain as if burdened by the weight of their collective anxiety. Every mile amplified exhaustion, each bump in the road a reminder of their diminishing resources. The heat seeped through the windows, turning the cabin into an oven, sapping them of energy and hope. Dehydration creeped in insidiously, tightening their throats and fogging their minds. Their water supply dwindled with alarming speed, forcing them to ration every precious drop. Desperation hovered like a specter, and the tension between them began to rise like the sun. We should have turned back when we had the chance, Lisa said, her voice cracking under the weight of frustration and fear. John clenched his jaw, a flicker of guilt flashing through his eyes. I know. I wanted to make this trip special for us. This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I said adventure, she retorted, her tone wavering between irritation and despair. The conversation, strained and hesitant, frayed the bond that had once seemed so unbreakable. Yet beneath their argument lay a silent understanding. They needed each other to survive this unforgiving expanse. They pulled over, both needing respite from the relentless sun and a chance to reassess their dwindling options. The SUV, its metal frame cooled with a creak, offering little solace from the outside world. They found a small patch of shade beneath a rare desert tree, its slender branches barely casting enough shadow to shield them. Sitting together in a shared pocket of silence, they could feel the enormity of the Outback pressing down on them. The need for action pulsed beneath their skin, but options were scarce, and the safety they longed for was a memory fading into the distance. A drink of water felt like a precious ritual, each sip guarded carefully. It was a battle against thirst that echoed with life, simplicity and tenacity, a reigning force that stripped away pretensions and left them profoundly aware of their vulnerability. Lisa turned to John, the fierceness in her eyes softened by longing and exhaustion. We can't keep arguing like this. We need to figure out a plan, together. Her words settled deep into the core of John's being, igniting a spark of stubborn determination. He met her gaze, feeling the weight of their collective strength beginning to surface. You're right. We need each other. Let's start by figuring out how to make it through today, and then we'll find our way back. Armed with a renewed resolve, they returned to the vehicle, recharting their course and mapping out strategies for survival. It was a step forward, small yet significant, as they embraced the formidable task of navigating the silence of the sands, forged by the ferocity of the elements and their tenacity to overcome. And so, the Outback watched patiently, reserving judgment, as John and Lisa clung to each other, resolve, facing not only the trial set by nature, but the search for faith in their fraught bond amidst the endless desert horizons.